Hi, Kristen.
Caleb, hi, it's Leslie. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but not see you.
I know. So I don't know if Kristen's going to be able to join us. So I'm just shocked that I came in as her. Oh, maybe I came in on her link. Let me double check
I sent fresh links.
I'll have to go to
earlier.
that email. I went to the calendar. Sorry. Caleb, hi, it's Leslie. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but not see you.
I know. So Kristen's going to be able to join us. So I'm just shocked that. So crazy. I was on 2 of these already today.
Webinars or
Yeah.
just Zoom meetings? Webinars.
Zooms.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not canceled out of this one. I'm going to leave as Kristen then.
So you're in there as you.
Yeah, I hear Kristen coming out of Kristen.
Yeah, great.
None of you are showing visually. Is that something that I keep forgetting how to do?
Yeah, it's blocked by the host.
Okay.
Totally fine, by the way.
I see. Allow panelists to start video. Did that work? Yeah, there's Ryan. Okay. I don't think I will ever remember how to do that. I mean, I did remember, but I don't think I'll remember to set it up. I got to find the default for that. Well, good. It's 3:01. I think we should give Supervisor Miller another minute. Supervisor Scofield is double booked, so he'll be joining us shortly. And just to let you all know, we are already live on YouTube. And Dan is here. Okay, so Dan, how do I need to get you to, I'm promoting you to a panelist. Let's see what happens. There you are.
Here we go.
All right, Supervisor Miller, welcome. Well, let me, now that everyone's here, let me start the recording. And, all right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Nevada County COVID-19 Business Task Force meeting. My name is Caleb Dardick, Project Administrator in the CEO's office, and we have a great agenda for you today. This is a webinar, so you're able to raise your, you're able to submit questions through the Q&A or through the chat, and then we will bring those to the attention of our panel. So with that, let me turn it over to our Chair Miller.
Boy, is it ever going to end? It just seems like it keeps going and going and going. But, I got to admit, as long as the money keeps flowing in from state and federal, we'll take advantage of it. Unfortunately, it's just not enough to spread around to everyone. But, everybody's trying to be resilient. I guess that's the word of the year is resilience. Maybe patience comes in second.
Yeah.
But I appreciate everyone being here, and and the topics and what's offered, and hopefully is informative and useful. Everybody take back and use. So with that, Caleb, let's roll.
All right, thank you. All right, well, let me introduce Ryan Gruber, the Director of Health and Human Services Agency, to give us an update, public health update. Ryan.
Hi, thank you for having me. Again, Ryan Gruber, the county's Health and Human Services Director, and nice to be with you again. I think the items that you have for me to cover, Caleb, just to check, I wanted to give a brief update on the COVID situation generally, provide a vaccine update, talk about vaccine verification and how to do that, and then provide a brief update on the health officer's mega event order. So does that cover it? Anything I left off there?
That sounds great. And I just
Okay.
put it in the chat so those folks can follow along.
Great. So I'm going to do a couple screen shares as part of this, just because I find it helpful to have pictures to follow along. So the first one, I believe I've shared in this and other forums before, is our cases per week. Showing it per week as opposed to per day gives you a better sense for the trends. And this data goes back to August of 2020. It shows the peak that we had in the winter, and then the reduction in cases that we saw thereafter, until the emergence of the Delta variant and the lifting of the blueprint for a safer economy, and the Delta variant in particular, resulting in that unprecedented surge of cases where we exceeded our prior winter surge and got up as high as nearly 500 cases over the week that ended in September 3rd. So that was a peak that we've seen throughout the pandemic. We deaths or hospitalizations, we also saw peak in crest in hospitalizations associated with that a couple weeks later, and we continue to add deaths to our dashboard because that trails the surge in cases and hospitalizations. Sometimes it can be many weeks of symptoms and somebody can still pass away. Good thing, proportionally, with the protection of the vaccines and the fact that some of our very oldest and most vulnerable populations in settings like skilled nursing facilities had very high vaccination rates, although it's exceedingly tragic that we've added, I believe, 25, 26 deaths to the dashboard since that surge. It's not nearly as bad as it would have been without the protection of the vaccines. So since the crest in August and early September, we've seen a steady decrease in cases. So definitely trending in the right direction. I will say last week we saw somewhat of an uptick in cases. We were 117 cases the week before last, then 157 last week. So definitely keeping our eye on whether that's just a blip and we'll continue trending downwards, or whether that's something where we're going to start seeing an uptick again. We did last year see seasonality associated with COVID, and additional cases come out of the gathering that accompanies the various holidays. And so definitely keeping our eye on the situation going forward, but we're in a much better place than we were a couple months ago. So that's very good. So in terms of vaccine update, I'll just share a couple statistics. So 67.4% of those who were eligible as of yesterday are fully vaccinated in Nevada County, and then another 7.5% or so that have received one dose, either because they're in progress or they just never went in for that second dose. Booster shots are widely available. You can sign up for them through My Turn. You're eligible for a booster shot. Basically, if you're over 65, if you have an underlying health condition, or if you are at higher risk due to occupational risk or equity. And so that's a pretty big component of our community that's potentially eligible for booster shots. And the big vaccine news of the week is that the Pfizer vaccine in a lower dosage was authorized for children 5 to 11 years old. So that was authorized at the federal level. And then last night, the Western States Scientific Conference got together and approved it, making it available in California as well. So the next thing I wanted to do a brief screen share on is the update that we've made to the county's vaccine website, and I can share out a link to this as well. And out here we have, sorry, I think that's the old version. So we've updated the page to reflect vaccine for ages 5 to 11. And My Turn will be updated tomorrow so that people can go in and start booking appointments there. And then we've provided information on where people can get children 5 to 11 vaccinated and who each provider is vaccinating. So you've got Chop a Day vaccinating their patients, Docomo's vaccinating by appointment children 5 to 11, and et cetera. So I'll share out the link to this. Caleb, maybe you can include it when you send out the recording to the group as well. And we'll be updating that as the situation evolves, and posting information about clinics and things like that. Another thing I wanted to touch base on, and hopefully this changed when I changed, everybody else can see what happened here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how to access your vaccine records digitally. Digital vaccine verification is an easy way to access events that require vaccination status to be validated, or travel, or things like that. And it's a fairly easy process as long as there are no snafus to accomplish this. So I'll share out this link as well, and Caleb, you can include it when you send out the video. But basically, if you go to this web page, you can enter your first, last name, date of birth, and either mobile phone or email address. You set up a PIN, and then it sends you a text message or an email that brings you to a QR code that can be used to verify your vaccine. As long as those pieces of information exist with your vaccine record, that's very fast and easy to do. I did it, and I had my record within seconds of clicking the button there. Where that can be a challenge is if you have multiple phone numbers and you used a different phone number, or you're not sure what email, or if you didn't provide those pieces of information. And so it's important, if you are going to rely on this to get into an event or something like that, that you try to do it beforehand and not while you're in line at the event. That's some feedback we've gotten from some of our local event organizers, that people trying to work through this in real time has created some delays getting in. So I want to encourage everybody to do this as early as possible. We've put together a flyer, which I will also provide to Caleb, that walks people through some ins and outs of vaccine verification and how to work through hangups. And hopefully we can get the word out that this is a great thing to do, but you want to plan in advance and do it before you go. So, and then the last thing to talk about is the health officer's order on events. Right now, Dr. Scott Kellerman has an order that limits events, requires vaccine verification or negative test for events over 500, and caps events. And there have been a lot of questions, I believe 2,500. There have been a lot of questions in terms of when that's going to be modified or eliminated. Dr. Kellerman is definitely monitoring it in the situation in real time. It's something that we're keeping an eye on the trends. As I mentioned, uptick last week, but overall we've been going down. And so if the trend downward continues, I would expect that he will be looking at that to modify that order. So we'll definitely keep everybody up to date as that proceeds. I will point out that as of right now, our case rate is about double what would have put us in the purple tier in the blueprint for a safer economy. So it's still at a point where Dr. Kellerman's not comfortable in lifting that order, but it is something that he's actively discussing and considering as we look at the information. So I see Supervisor Miller, you have your hand up.
Ryan, what is the criteria that Doc Kellerman is using right now to keep this mandate in place?
So I think it's a combination of, I mean, we could certainly connect with him to talk about what his thinking is. It's a combination of the situation in terms of cases and positivity rate, as well as the resources that are available for people to respond with testing and things like that. And so, you know, we've seen outbreaks in the schools and other settings. And so the ability to have the resources necessary to respond to those is part of that calculus as well as I'm sure other factors he's looking at with the apparent seasonality from last year. I don't want to speak too much for his thinking since he is the medical expert, and we can certainly ping him additionally, but I know there are active conversations and they're looking at the data, and but unfortunately I don't have a date or list of metrics for you right now.
And with Thanksgiving coming up, it's going to be interesting, and then obviously Black Friday, which everybody responds to. But on the historical vaccination rates in Nevada County, aren't we almost there to the fact that you know, everyone who normally gets vaccinated is getting vaccinated? Now we're going to run into that group that are totally anti-vaxxers historically in Nevada County?
So certainly the vaccines have been widely available for long enough that anybody that really wanted a vaccination should have been able to access it by now. So, certainly there are people that have various barriers to accessing it, and we as a public health department work very hard to reach those folks. But I think you're right. I think the other things that motivate people to get vaccinated is if they're if it's something that they need to do in order to access an event or things like that, or if it's mandated if you're in a certain sector. And so those have been recent things coming from the feds and from the state that have influenced people to either get vaccinated or not avail themselves of those events. But the other thing is making it available to the entire population. And as I mentioned, it's just as of today that California has authorized it for the 5 to 11-year-olds. And it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out in terms of what the uptake is in that age group, given that, as you referenced, we have historically low vaccination rates among school-age kids in Nevada County.
Do we have any further information on the effectiveness of the booster as far as the Delta variant?
So the booster, first of all, the original vaccine, even without the booster, continues to show high effectiveness against the Delta variant. It's not 100% protection. No vaccine is 100%. What we've seen is that you're about 8 times more likely to get infected with COVID if you're unvaccinated compared to if you're vaccinated. So that's highly effective, and it's reflected in both our data and state and federal data. And unfortunately, the severe consequences, the hospitalizations and deaths have been disproportionately borne by people that could have prevented it with the vaccine. So it is effective. Boosters make it even more effective and are recommended for certain people, but they're not required or in order to be fully vaccinated, because you would still receive high protection just from the 2 doses.
Yeah, it was interesting last night. I know everybody was on the edge of their seats with the elections in Virginia, New Jersey, and both political parties, their campaign gatherings, there was no one wearing masks in New Jersey and Virginia. And so it was interesting to note that on the national level that neither political party was really too concerned, but we'll see if they were spreader events or what's going to happen on that. I'm lowering my hand.
Well, that does it for my update, unless there are any other questions. Unfortunately, I do have to jump off in a few minutes, but open for any questions until then.
Well, Ryan, thank you very much, and we won't keep you too long. I want to invite folks to put questions in the Q&A or in the chat. Not seeing any at this point, but we did have specific questions about large events going ahead in Nevada County, whether either looking like they're going ahead or thinking about going ahead, events, that would attract thousands of people. What is the county's position on that? And is there like a way to make them safe, or is it just off the table? Or what you're thinking on sort of large events over, I guess, 2,700 people?
So right now, they're not allowed under the health officer order. If it's between 500 and I believe 2,500, then they're allowed, but with safeguards in place. And that's what we were talking about in terms of when will Dr. Kellerman be considering either loosening or removing that order. Really depends on the situation on the ground and the resources that are available to respond to outbreaks in the schools and other settings.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Ryan from the panel before we let him go? And welcome, Supervisor Scofield. All right, hearing none, Ryan, thank you so much. We appreciate your report, and good to see that for the most part, the trend lines are going in the right direction. So thank you. And yeah, if you email me those links, I'll share them with people when I send out the recording.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. All right, let's transfer over to the next part of our agenda, which is business resources. It's the economic impacts of the COVID pandemic are well known to all of us, and this has been a very good forum to provide resources to the business community, nonprofit community. And so I want to first welcome our guest. We have Kristen York and Leslie Williams from the Sierra Business Council. And we also have Ariel Lovett from the CEO's office, who's been working with me on a new grants committee where we're tracking and looking after opportunities that might be of interest to you. So I'm going to start with Kristen, welcome.
Thank you. And I'm so glad Leslie is here because I have spent the better part of, all beginning of this week and part of last week up in the Dixie Fire area with a response team from FEMA, etc. And I only mention that because one thing that those communities did not do was put together any kind of business task force like this during COVID. They didn't have any sort of organized response or teams or plans, nor did they ever allocate any of their ARPA funds or CARES funds into their business community. And you can really see the impact now when you're up there. So I really compliment the county on pulling this together and being consistent with it. And we have a lot of planning to do to stay ahead of anything that faces us. But so Leslie is on top of the emerging and existing programs, but I did want to mention we had an update from SBA today, and during this is lagging information, so it's not as of right now, but during COVID, SBA tracked actually more business openings than closings, 928,000 closings versus 1.04 million openings, and that's on a national basis. So yeah, Dan, we have a lot of work to do, and it's good that money's flowing, but it looks like money's flowing to the right places in some cases. So Leslie, please enlighten us.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I just wanted to share the current funding opportunities and programs at the different levels from the federal level. Anybody that did have a PPP loan, the forgiveness portal is open, and you could determine if your lender is participating in the automated portal forgiveness, or if you have to work directly with your lender to get forgiveness. And it's been quite a success. And you've heard in the news also how great the PPP loan program has been and how it's helped. And like 93% of every loan up to 150,000 has already been forgiven. So it's working really well. They did a great job. The EIDL loan is still open 2 more months or till December 31st. So anybody that did not apply for an economic injury disaster loan can still do that. This is based on the declared disaster known as the coronavirus. And anybody that did receive an EIDL loan can also go back into their portal and see if there's a button in the portal that says request an increase, because the legislation did increase that $150,000 EIDL cap to 500,000, and then now it's up to 2 million. So go into your portal and determine if you can apply or request an increase is the button. If you have any trouble, give us a call. We have great support at the local SBA district in Sacramento to look into that. Again, targeted EIDL is a direct solicitation from the SBA. Your business address has to qualify in a low to moderate income area. Shuttered venue operators grant, those monies are still being advanced. And everybody knows that the Restaurant Revitalization Fund is closed, but if anybody does need help, there's a phone number there to assist you. At the state level, the California Rebuilding Fund is still open and available and taking applications. You can connect to Capital. This is new, pretty much hot off the press. This program at the state of California opened on October 29th. It's a California venues grant program, much like the SVOG. And the link is there. I'll put it in the chat as well. Read up. Nonprofits, for-profits are eligible, have to be an independent live event venue. It's pretty clear. It looks like very much like the California Relief Grant application. It's in multiple languages. You click your button, for-profit, nonprofit, go through, make sure you're eligible and apply for that. It's up to 250,000. And I forget exactly, but it's like 20%. Or 2 times gross revenues, 20% of that or something. It's all in that link. So check that out. Sales tax extension and Main Street tax credits are still available. Employee retention credits are still available. You could check with your tax preparer or your CPA on those. Local opportunities, the Resilience Fund, resiliencefund.org is available. It's a financing mechanism that was funded pretty much philanthropically. The town of Truckee has a community development block grant that they just got approved that'll retain jobs. I think it's about $300,000 total. There's two different forks to it. One's for business assistance and one is for job retention. So you can go on this link. I'll put this in the chat as well to see if you're in the town of Truckee specific, if your small business can qualify for that. Nevada County Relief Fund is doing a great job, has raised tons of money, has given out lots of money. I think round 5 closed, and now they're raising funds for river fire survivors. And then the Resiliency Grant Fund, Caleb is going to speak to that. As far as technical assistance, we're going to beat our drum. Contact us if you need help for one-on-one consulting. You can contact us or go directly to our website and apply now and become a registered client. And we have access, again, like everyone knows, to regional advisors, industry-specific advisors. We were successful. Kristen wrote a great RFP and our contract is intact. We are maintaining our contract with the Small Business Administration and just getting stronger and stronger. Just for a little fun fact, we took 55 new clients in the month of October. That's an awful lot for our lean little machine. And then you also have access to the network calendar, Northern California, SBDC.org. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Kristen. Any questions from our attendees? Questions in the chat, in the Q&A? I'm not seeing any. Azrael asked, can you share that last slide again? You want to put that back up, please?
It's easy for you to say. So I'll put our contact information in the links as well. Is that good?
Azrael, you have what you need? I think so. Okay, well, thank you very much. Let's go to Ariel. Ariel, you've done some prospecting for some grants that might come to local businesses.
Yeah, just a couple to add on to what Leslie shared and sort of, aligned with Supervisor Miller's comments about really working to try to reach everyone. There's a new opportunity that Nevada County will be applying for. So this is a California micro-business COVID-19 grant program, and this program will award funds to eligible grant-making entities, which right now is only counties. So Nevada County will be applying for our county to distribute grants to eligible micro-businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19. And unlike some of the other opportunities we've had, this one is really focused on providing relief to the hardest to reach micro-businesses and entrepreneurs. So we will be developing and implementing outreach and marketing plans to identify and engage those micro businesses. So we'll be reaching out. I don't know if we have some of our chambers or Downtown Association Arts Council on the phone today, but we'll be reaching out to you to help reach out to these very small business owners and really focus on those eligible micro businesses that have potentially faced systemic barriers to accessing capital. So including, but not limited to, businesses owned by women, minorities, veterans, individuals without documentation or limited English proficiency, and really open to all micro business owners in rural communities. So our whole county qualifies sort of off the bat, but we'll really be wanting to work to reach those folks who might not always hear about these kind of opportunities. So I think about maybe some of our artists or, vendors at street fairs and things like that. So to be a qualified micro business, these folks have to be in operation since 2019, impacted by the pandemic. Not sure who has not been, and less than $50,000 in revenue in 2019. So it's really those smaller businesses. So we're working to, the applications are due at the end of this month. We hope to be really focusing on that outreach when we confirm that we are receiving the funds. It is a competitive allocation in January and February of the new year, and then probably releasing that first round of grants in March and April through a portal. These grants are up to $2,500. So it'll be $2,500 grants to these small businesses. So we'll be able to, with our allocation, we will be able to distribute approximately 40 of those. And if we don't use up all of that in the first round, we'll plan to release a second round of funding. So that's one opportunity I wanted to share that's upcoming, and really, like I said, I think, hopefully reaching out to a segment of our business community that maybe hasn't been able to take advantage of some of these other opportunities. The other one is, this one is for small businesses. So, and again, it's focused on rural areas. It's from USDA. I don't know if some of our folks might be familiar with this. The grant is due in February of 2022. So this one won't be one the county is applying for and distributing. This would be open to towns, communities, state agencies, or nonprofits. So again, if I can send this out to, maybe some of our chambers or downtown associations that, or business incubators, ERC. So anyway, we'll focus on funding things like long-term business strategic planning, business incubators, feasibility studies, and business plans. And these grants from USDA, it can be challenging a little bit to work with USDA, but we have a great local contact who, if anyone's interested, I'll connect you directly with him. These grants range from $10,000 to $50,000, and really, again, are focused on small and emerging businesses in rural areas, and really a broad range. So training, technical assistance, acquisition of easements or machinery, things like that. So really looking at how on a community level, we can support those small businesses. So it's not eligible for individual businesses, but those organizations supporting. So I don't know if anyone has questions, but I can share that opportunity out as well.
All right. Thank you, Ariel. Any questions from the panel or the attendees? All right. So I'm really excited to let you know that the Board of Supervisors next Tuesday will be considering the recommendation for the allocation of up to $2 million in ARPA-funded community resiliency grants. For those of you who remember that the board originally allocated a third of the federal monies that came to the county, $5.8 million to go back to the community to support community and economic resiliency, and that $250,000 has been used already for the Nevada County Relief Fund's fifth round. And then we're really pleased that the board approved a process whereby community serving institutions and programs, business sector, nonprofits, special purpose districts like rec districts, recreation districts could apply for up to $100,000. We received 73 applications totaling just a few dollars less than $5 million. And so we're bringing a recommendation to fund 32 of them. We wish we could have funded them all, but we really wanted to, fund the groups that, scored the best and had programs that we thought were going to help, do the most to increase resiliency. And so we're bringing that list to the board. It will be in the board packet available to the public on Thursday afternoon. And it'll be on the afternoon agenda of the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday after 1:30 p.m. if you're interested in hearing that presentation and participating. So that's just a quick update I wanted to share on that. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind people that if you have been getting this agenda and email as an email from me, we are been migrating off that email to a subscription newsletter. And so I'm sure the 16 or 20 people on this call already know this, but I will put it in the chat just in case. But please sign up there. That's how you'll find out about business resources, grant opportunities, what the county is doing for business, and also the agenda and dates of these meetings. We also have the Facebook group and, of course, the dedicated business website as well, all of which I'm sure you're very familiar with by now and is in the bottom of the emails that go out with this link. So with that, not seeing any other questions or comments, I would like to turn it back to our supervisors for closing remarks.
Ed, go ahead.
Thanks, Dan. Well, I'm sorry I was late, so I I missed a good part of it. I don't know. I think things are just going along. I'm pleased. I hope that things continue to drop, that we can get back into a normal business. I want to point out the economic summit that just went on. I don't know if you mentioned that earlier, but I'd really like to commend Kristen on her presentation. I heard that from more than one person. Kristen, excellent job. Very, very good. So it's good to be working with folks that have made it work throughout all this process, and I'm really glad to be hearing and seeing the applications that are being recommended to us at our next meeting. So to you, Dan, thanks.
Yeah, I unfortunately missed the summit. There are good reasons, but the feedback was again, it was good feedback. I mean, the information presented, I think everyone understood, and pretty easy to know what direction our county needs to go. And again, we're talking about the funding, and I was talking to Allison today, and our approach is you apply for just about everything, and because you have that fear in the back of your mind that if you don't apply for something, then someone's going to knock you off the list as uninterested, and so you try and go for it all, and see where it ends up. And so that's pretty much what the county's trying to do, and put money back into the businesses and get through this crazy period of time. And hopefully around the first of the year, we're gonna see a little more normalcy. But it's hard to say. It really is hard to say. We thought this was a 3-month deal.
Yeah, those were innocent times. Well, I want to thank everybody for attending today. Thank our panelists. Remind people we are now on an every other month schedule. So no meeting in December. Our next meeting will be on January 5th. So until then, take care of yourselves, and please sign up for that newsletter, because if there are other grant opportunities, if there are meetings, we're always going to be nimble. We've been nimble in this process all the way through, and we'll continue to be, but I think we're all feeling like we know how to navigate and be safe going forward, and we will see you on January 5th. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Caleb.